Hey guys, so this is going to be a review on Flash Season 4. So if you don't know much about how I feel about The Flash, the first two seasons I absolutely loved. I thought were great. And then the third season I liked. It was just a letdown. And then this season I was like, okay, maybe it'll get better. I think the biggest problem that The Flash has, and it's not really a problem, but it is kind of a bad situation. In the first season, it had one of the coolest villains ever. And then the second season had another amazing villain. And even I don't think the third season's villain or the fourth season's villain was all that great. But even if they were, I still think they would pale in comparison to the first two seasons' villains. The third season, I wasn't a huge fan of the villain. The fourth season, I kind of liked the villain, and I'll tell you why. The fourth season, what I loved about it is it. The first three seasons, they were all the villains were speedsters. So this was the first non-speedster, and it had one of the superpowers that I think's the one of the coolest, and that's just intelligence. I think that one of the coolest superpowers you can have is intelligence. But I can see it, being too much at some point. But he knew thousands of different outcomes that can happen, and he had something planned for each and every one of them. I'm not going to get into any spoilers just because the spoilers that I would have for this season is so much, and there's a lot, especially the ending. But anyways, if you're thinking about watching this season and you watch the first three and you're like, I wonder if this will be, any good. I think if you liked the first three seasons, you will at least think this is mediocre. And that's what I thought. I thought this was mediocre. Not bad, not good, just bleh. My favorite thing in this season was the characters. I thought the characters, they developed the characters very well. The only problem with that is even though they developed the characters very well, there was still times that, one episode, they would act a certain way just because that episode needed them to act that way. But before and after that episode, they never act that way again. That's one of my biggest pet peeves about this season. And another big pet peeve I have is don't get me wrong, I get that, it should be dramatic considering there's, people's lives in hand, but sometimes it was a little over dramatic. There'd be something that fell on the floor and they'd be like, yeah, I don't know, maybe not that bizarre, but it was pretty over dramatic. The main thing I did like about this season was the characters. The pacing was an issue. There's some episodes that it hit, and then 4 episodes, I was like, this is kind of boring. But overall, the beginning I think was good. The middle was okay, but the very end was great. And it has one of the biggest cliffhangers. My worry about this cliffhanger, and the only reason I have this worry is because the previous seasons have done something similar to this. They're like, okay, this is something that's big, this is huge, and then the next season they, fix it within 1 to 3 episodes, which that really, it really irks me because, you can't have something so big and then be like, oh, it's fixed, it's done, we're good.
So overall, I give this a C. I I did like it, just I wish I liked it more. I am looking forward to the later seasons. I just hope they're better than this season and the last season. But overall, did you like the season? What did you think about it? And like always, I'll see y'all next time.